Hello, I'm Father John from St. James in Wabash. I'm so glad to be with all of you today, reflecting a little bit on Advent. Particularly today, I want to talk about one of the great themes of Advent, which is joy. If you remember, we're going to culminate this Advent season by singing Joy to the World. And so this whole season of Advent has been preparing us to sing that song, Joy to the World. And I think it's important for us to understand exactly what joy is. Sometimes we kind of use joy and happiness interchangeably, but they're actually very different ideas. Happiness is something that is really impacted by things external to us. When the White Sox win a ball game, you can feel happy. When the sun is shining, you can take a walk, it makes you happy. When you've had a good meal with your family and friends, that can make you happy. But if those things aren't there, if the White Sox lose, you get unhappy. And so happiness is something that can come and go, and it depends on something outside of ourselves. Joy is a little different. Joy is a condition, if you will. It's something that we have, almost like a disease even. It's something that you have. Joy is something that permeates your being. And I think if you just look at a newborn child, look at a baby, you know that we're made for joy, right? Joy is what babies do. It's what they have, you know, when they're hungry or when they're thirsty or when they're messy, they can get upset. But their default position, the thing they go back to once their needs are satisfied, is a condition of joy. And so it's kind of a good reminder that joy is not dependent on something outside of ourselves. It's something that's interior, something that we have. It's a product not of our anything external, but a gift to our inner dispositions. The British Christian apologist C.S. Lewis describes joy as something which surprises us. It kind of sneaks up on us. He said he reflects upon a time when he was, kind of feeling God was asking something of him. So he's trying to avoid God in some way. And then when he finally turns and faces God, God gives him joy. And that's the way of God. God wants us to live in joy. So I think we have to imagine then how this condition of joy comes to us, because it can also go from us. If you think of back that example of a baby, you can see how joy can be lost. Children sometimes have the joy squashed out of them by abuse, by neglect, by so much negativity. And so we have to make sure that we're cultivating joy, that we're letting this gift of joy that comes to us to flourish, to blossom and grow. And I like to think that we cultivate joy by emphasizing the J, the O, and the U, and the Y, that is joy. We emphasize the J. We emphasize Jesus if we really want to live in joy. Because Jesus, as the song goes, is the center of my joy. All that's good and perfect comes from him. So Jesus shows us that just in being a human being, we're filled with God. We have this family relationship with the Son of God. And so when Jesus is born, he lets us know we're not supposed to be angels. It's okay to be human beings, to be those who have faults and failings and limitations. Our limitations are not what define us. What defines us is this relationship that we have with Jesus. And the more that we get to know him, the more joy that we possess, because we will discover our true nature, our true identity. And that's why during Advent, it's good to read the Bible, it's good to say our prayers, it's good to gather with fellow Christians, because that enables the state of joy that is our default position as Christians to come to the fore, and gives us that blessed assurance that all manner of things will be well. And so once we kind of have grasped that and the importance of having the J part of joy, the Jesus part of our joy with us, then we have to attend to the O, who are the others that are part of our life. And it tells us that if we get the spotlight off of ourselves and onto others, joy comes. Go back to that baby. Just seeing a baby makes you joyful, right? You just are so excited just to be around this infinite possibility, which is the life of a child. It reminds me, as the psalmist puts it, that we are fearfully, wonderfully made. So when we look at others, we're seeing this great gift that we have just in being who we are. I was thinking about my nephews and nieces. They're joy-filled people. And I have a suspicion that one of the major reasons they're joy-filled people is because of their sister, Jennifer. Jennifer is mentally handicapped. And so from the very beginning of their lives, her brothers and sisters had to get the focus off of themselves. They always had to put Jennifer into their calculations of what they were going to do, how were they going to operate, what was going to be their activity, how will that impact Jenny. And I think it was that willingness from the very first moment of their existence to think about someone else, to think about the other, to think about Jennifer, that made them the joy-filled people that they are. I think that when we look at others, before we look at ourselves, that's what enables joy to grow. And then, of course, the third, the Y, J-O-Y, we also have to be attentive to ourselves. You are part of joy. And it just reminds me that there's so much in our world and in our lives that tells us we're not good enough. You know, you are playing ball and you're the last one chosen on the team. You get stuck in right field hoping that nobody hits the ball out to you. You're at the dance and you're lining the wall and nobody asked you to dance. The teacher on your exam writes, needs to improve. And if you watch the TV, we get the message, you're not pretty enough, you're not thin enough, you're not rich enough to really be one of the beautiful people. So what all this says is that we have this constant message that comes to us about our inadequacies, how we're not good enough. There's a wonderful book by a Swiss psychiatrist, Alice Miller, called The Drama of the Gifted Child. And the gist of her research is that parents want the best for their children. But what happens is they say, well, you can do better. And so what the children hear, instead of this encouraging word, they hear, I'm not good enough, and just as I am. And I think what we want to understand is if we're going to be people of joy, that we are good enough, just as we are. We don't have to do anything else in order to have joy in our hearts and in our lives. For joy to enter in, all we need to do is to understand that God doesn't make junk, and God made me, so I must be okay. So Jesus, others, and you. So that's the formula for joy. And as we go through our Lenten season, let's receive this gift of joy that God wants us to have, and then let's pass on joy to others. So happy Advent.